Hello, everybody, and welcome to our talk on quality culture. Are you an asset or a gatekeeper in your organization? My name is Christy Mazzarisi. I'm from Network Partners Group. I'm a principal consultant. I've been in the industry about 20 years or so, all in the quality space in the life sciences. I've worked across every GXP. I've done pretty much every quality role throughout my career. And I specialize in R&D and commercial manufacturing and bringing products from clinical to commercial. I've led a lot of major initiatives across the GXPs. I love SOP optimization. I love doing audits. I love continuous improvement. And I love speaking about a culture of quality because I think that's super important in the industry right now. And it's been a hot topic over the last couple of years. So I look forward to teaching you all about it today and going over some key points throughout this webinar. So in this webinar, I'm hoping that throughout the next 45 minutes or so that we'll talk a little bit about understanding that quality sets the foundation of a quality culture and where that comes from the top and from the bottom. Learning how to assess your quality maturity. I call it 3 pillars of performance. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll also talk about a 4-step approach to building a culture of quality within your organization and how you can take that back to your teams or even just in your own daily remit and your day-to-day activities, how you can build a culture of quality within your own daily activities. Okay, so I want to start off with everybody kind of thinking about one key question. And this is the first question I tend to ask companies when I come in and I assess their quality maturity is quality and compliance on your executive board. Where does quality sit? Do they sit at the top? Are they at the executive level? Do they, maybe they sit at the VP level, but not quite on the executive board? I want everybody on this call to think about where do they sit at the highest level? Where is quality put within your business decisions at your organization? So this is a key indicator of a mature quality culture. So that's why I always start off with a very simple, basic question for you to kind of think through about the organization at your company. If quality is sitting at the top, that means that there's a commitment from the top around quality of your products, your services, quality for your patients, whatever it is that you serve, right? And that quality is part of all of the business decisions. So it's super important to really look and say, where does quality sit within our organization as a first question and first step to say, how mature is quality where I work and where I, put in all of my efforts from day to day within the life sciences. So business and quality should be aligned. So that's one of the reasons why I always start with, where does quality sit? So that's one of the key first takeaways that you can look at when we're talking about a culture of quality within your organization. So why should quality sit at the top and why should quality be a key player in executive functions? Right? We know that quality adds value, right? Anyone who has a quality hat on their head, who has worked with quality closely knows that quality can add value if given the chance, right? We're not supposed to be seen as the police, as some people say, oh, they're the gatekeepers, they're the police, they tell us what not to do. In reality, we're the customer service department of the company. That's how I like to see it. We're here to help everyone, streamline processes, make sure we're compliant. Where can we be more efficient? How can we help build a better reputation, better product quality? Where can we maybe get rid of some cost reductions and some maybe overlaps and gaps that we may have within our processes or our systems? Quality sitting at the top gives a competitive edge against competitors, and it's going to benefit you in the eye of the public, right? So if we think about it from a business level type viewpoint, quality looks at gaps, quality thinks about risks, and they find resolutions to make things better. And it all goes back to continuous improvement. So building a culture of quality stems from continuous improvement activities and really building quality into all of our business processes. So I know sometimes, like I said, we're perceived as a necessary evil, but in reality, all of the 4 things you see here on the screen come from having a good quality culture and a good quality team. So one of the things I like to tell when I'm talking to, let's say, an executive review board or something like that, is that quality should have a central role in all of the business decisions. It helps you avoid legal consequences in the end. It helps reduce inefficiencies, increase product success, maybe even speed to market. And it just helps build trust with regulators and patients. So at the end of the day, it gives you a good reputation in the public eye, which is key. So I know I mentioned in the beginning, one of the key takeaways for today, I hope, is the 3 pillars of performance. It's what can you do and what can you take away to bring back to your organization to say, hey, let's look at these 3 things and say, where is our culture of quality at? And how can we be better? And how can we continuously improve? So the 3 things that I really say to focus on are your key performance indicators, your quality management review boards, and taking a risk-based approach to all of the things that you do within your organization. So if you could evaluate and leverage these 3 areas, it will help keep your quality culture strong. And if you don't have a quality culture to begin with, it will help you build one. So let's talk a little bit about KPIs. So every company usually tracks some form of key performance indicators, some form of metrics, and then they report them out. But one of the key things to look at is the type of metrics that you're pulling. So you want to track leading indicators, not lagging indicators. And what we see as a consultant, I'm a consultant, right? And what I see is most companies are tracking lagging indicators. So that tends to be, while helpful in some instances, not an indicator of a mature quality culture. You want to look at things that can help you assess risk in advance. That can be a proactive measure, like preventative maintenance as an example in the quality operations and manufacturing space. Preventative maintenance and looking at that as a KPI is a way to be proactive in preventing shutdown of a line or something like that, or of a piece of equipment. Another key leading indicator, turnover rates. And that more is on the HR side, but that tells you a lot about culture. And that's the biggest one that most companies miss, is looking at turnover for department, turnover per company, and understanding the why behind that. So that's another example of a leading indicator. And some of what you're doing today to maybe build and maintain your quality maturity is implementing a quality management review board. That's another big one. And that's the second one here on the screen. So if you have a holistic program in place within your company, looking at your entire QMS, and you have regularly scheduled review boards where you talk about each piece of your quality management system and the things that need improvements, or the things you see that are trending toward a possible issue, those are the things you want to be talking about, and you want to be bringing that up to senior management, right? You need to prove accountability of the leaders within the organization, and this is a way to do so. And this is a way also to have a nice escalation pathway should there be an issue. Because at the end of the day, the leadership needs to be supportive and helping build a mature culture of quality. And by having these regularly scheduled review boards, that's a way to give them accountability into what really is going on at the day-to-day level within an organization. And then the third one is a risk-based approach. So if we look at regulations lately over the last couple of years, the FDA, the MHRA, the EMA, right? They're all taking a risk-based approach to everything that we're doing, right? It's, well, let's take a risk-based approach to our audit program, a risk-based approach to our validation program. Really using risk-based thinking shows proactive measures, and it shows that you're putting your resources where they matter the most. So to me, that's a big one to instill within an organization, is start looking through your processes and start seeing where maybe you're not leveraging risk-based approaches appropriately, because by doing that, you can reduce training burden, reduce burnout within your employees, and also build in those efficiencies and maybe take away some gaps that you didn't realize you had, or some overlaps that you didn't realize you had from department to department or process to process. So definitely look at those risk-based approaches within your organization. And just by doing these 3 items together as a team, you'll see a huge shift in quality culture within your organization. And one of the things I want to mention is that whenever you're starting to build a culture of quality or trying to maintain it or just do better, is don't do it alone. Try to bring in a team. Try and gain buy-in from executive leaders. Try to gain buy-in from your teammates, because this is something that I think is better done as a team than in a silo. So now let's look at a 4-step approach to building a culture of quality. So this is something you can do individually, or you can take back to a team and maybe hold a workshop. But these are the 4 main steps. And I think if you just take these 4 main steps and then leverage those 3 pillars of performance behind that, you will have a very mature quality culture. And one thing to mention, this 4-step approach, while it is only 4 main steps, it can take time. It can take upwards of a year to really build a good culture of quality. So this isn't something that's done quickly. It's something that's done over time. But let's start with step 1. So let's talk about that a little bit. It's about understanding the why in what we do. Why does quality do what it does? Why does each group do what they do? So really, it's about education. Step 1 is setting a nice foundation where we educate each other on our roles and responsibilities, on why the regulations say to do X, Y, and Z. Because it's not enough to just read a regulation and then try to implement it, but understanding why behind it gives people purpose. It gives them a value proposition towards why they do what they do in their job. Not just, oh, we have to do it because the regulators say so. No, that's not why we have to do it. We have to do it because it connects to patient safety or product quality, right? How does it connect back to what they do? You have to give them a value proposition towards it. The second step, it says follow the leader, right? When we were all young, I don't know if folks have heard of this game before, but as a kid, you played follow the leader and you followed somebody and you mimicked what they did. Well, at the end of the day, this is kind of similar, right? Be a leader. It all starts with you at the end of the day, building a culture of quality. And it starts by leading by example. So what we can do as our own leader in ourselves is just try to think with quality in mind in everything that we do in our daily activities. And then positivity and people watching us, because people do watch, will begin to mimic your examples. So like they say, negativity is contagious. Well, so is positivity. So lead by example. And that's where it starts at the top. So one of the other things I like to mention here, and how I started off this conversation, is that quality should sit at the executive level. The top needs to set the tone and the example for the organization of what quality means to them and what the commitment to quality should be. Because if the leaders aren't setting the examples, how can they expect everyone else to? So really, this starts at the top. And one of the things I like to mention is that, you know, quality partnered with the executive level can really lead by example, and they can help shift mindsets from a negative one to a positive one, and to one with the value proposition that I mentioned in step 1. So now let's look at step 3. Be proactive. Again, taking your risk-based decision process into place, risk-based approaches. Let's be proactive. Let's build quality into our processes at the forefront, right? Quality should be put into all of your procedure development, your process development. Bring quality in at the beginning, right? Because quality will see things that maybe you don't because you're so close to the day-to-day. So include quality up front. And that kind of goes back a little bit to quality by design theory that a lot of folks follow, is bringing quality in early. So bringing quality really, again, will help mitigate some risks in advance. And again, it goes back to, where do we apply most of our resources? Where do we apply most of our mitigations? Looking at a risk-based approach and trying to be proactive about it. And then step 4, empowering your employees. This is the biggest one for me. When I was trying to build culture of quality in my organization, is allowing your employees to do the jobs they were set out to do. Don't micromanage. That doesn't build a culture of quality. You hired these people for a reason. Allow them to do their job and allow them to do it even if they fail. So that's one of the biggest pieces, is allowing failures to occur as long as it doesn't, right, hurt product quality, patient safety, things of that nature. But you need to allow your employees to do what they do and allow them to have psychological safety to possibly make a mistake. Psychological safety is one of the biggest pieces in a culture of quality at an organization that most organizations miss. So having that psychological safety from your manager or your team lead, or maybe 3 levels up with your senior VP, right? Knowing that it's okay to make a mistake and that you will be able to address it and fix it, creates trust and a bond within the organization that builds that culture of quality. So one of the things that you can Google this, there's research behind it, but when morale is high within your team, it is statistically shown to reduce errors, which means less risk. Happy employees make less mistakes, right? So that's the biggest takeaway for step 4 is happy employees. Nice, good, positive morale within the team leads to less risk, which means less issues with product quality, patient safety, and a really mature quality culture. So next slide is around, okay, well, what if we don't have a quality culture? Is that an issue? And what I like to say is, well, what can you think of that can come out of having no culture of quality? Is there anything good that can really come of that? So some of the things I like to look at are the 4 items on the screen, right? There's fines, debarment, right? All of the really big financial issues that can come with having a lack of a quality culture, and maybe getting inspected by the FDA, coming out with a warning letter, right? Really bad things could happen there. The second, poor company reputation, which means patients won't trust you, customers won't trust you. And then the next is not leading by example. That's a big one. If the leadership has no commitment to a culture of quality, then it's not very likely the rest of the organization will either. And you'll probably see a lot of issues within that organization. And then the last one is major compliance risks. So if you have poor work ethic because you don't have a commitment to quality from the top, you will have compliance issues. And you'll also have, not very good morale within the team, which will then also attribute to more issues. So some of the other things are high turnover rates can show that you have a poor culture of quality, more sick time within your employees. If you look at that and you see there's just people taking off all the time, that's another indication. Timeline delays across your projects or in many departments, that's another poor indicator of a poor culture of quality, and the list can go on. So I think this is something you could take away and maybe think about and say, okay, well, what can I look at in my company that can help me gauge what we need to do to build a bigger and better culture of quality? So what are some of the benefits? Let's look at the flip side of this, right? What are the benefits of a strong quality culture? And the 4 top ones: empowered staff, patient trust, a really nice, clean reputation. You won't find any 483s or warning letters for you. And then what does that equate to? Profit, right? So if you think about an executive level, what do they care about? It's the top dollar profit, right? Along with these other things. So an organization with a quality mindset that has customer and patient safety and satisfaction at the forefront of everything they do, you'll see that quality is seen as an asset to their top dollar, and quality is built into everything that they do. And if you do that, it's only up from here, right? You can't really go wrong in having benefits for a strong quality culture. Okay, so let's take a little bit of a deeper dive. So one of the things I want you to think about as you're listening to this is, what does culture mean to you? Right? Because we use this term, we throw it around, quality culture, but then we throw around culture just in our daily lives outside of the workplace. Is, okay, well, what are we referring to when we say culture? It's a little bit of a contradicting term, quality culture, when you look at it in the life sciences, right? The concept of quality is usually defined top down, right, through an organizational management hierarchical structure. But then if you look at culture and culture standalone, culture, on the other hand, really refers to a bottom-up process, right? It comes from families, from traditions, from the day-to-day, the employees on the lines, in the warehouse, really making it happen. They're the ones building the culture. So we kind of take a look at this. It's a top-down and bottom-up approach. It's a combination of the two, and the two really have to align and mesh together on the same vision to really build that really cohesive culture of quality. So as we're going through this, and I say culture of quality a lot, think through what culture means to you. So it can include perspectives from management that incorporate maybe cultural aspects from the workforce. It's creating a culture of trust, participation, communication, where maybe your quality initiatives or your goals are underpinned by employee participation. Employee participation is going to be extremely valuable when trying to build a culture of quality. So as I continue on over the next couple slides, what I really want you to do is think, what does quality culture mean to you personally? So don't think about maybe the values in your organization or what maybe the coworker that sits next to you, what they think. What does it mean to you? And as you think through that a little bit, and you come up with maybe some key words of what it means to you, let that be your mantra in your daily duties, right? One of the things I like to say is that quality may not be everybody's role. Maybe that's not the hat you wear every day, but quality should be everybody's responsibility. We can all build it into our day-to-day duties. So have a little think about that as I go through the rest of these slides, and then we'll continue to touch on it. Okay, so again, what does quality culture mean to you? So this is where, I really want you to write down, maybe in a notepad or maybe in a chat box, but write down somewhere to yourself what it means to you. This is an exercise, and it's a very simple one that you can use. Let's say you're bringing a meeting, your team together for a team meeting. Bring this slide with you. Take it and have them talk a little bit about or write down what quality culture means to them as like a little icebreaker to kind of kick off a team building experience or a workshop. And everybody can then collaborate and talk a little bit about around the room, what does quality culture mean to them? And then this will give you huge insight just by doing this short little activity of if your teams are aligned in values, if your teams are functioning well together culturally. And maybe you'll find out that they're not. They all think it means something completely different. That will tell you a lot, and that will help you then now realign the teams. If you're working on a project, a very big project with multiple work streams, and you realize that deadlines aren't being met, nobody's talking across their little work streams and their silos, and you realize there's a huge misalignment, bring them in a room, ask them this question, and level set on quality culture and what it means to them, and get them all to agree on a value statement of what quality culture means to them. And then you let them go back to that value statement anytime they're not aligning or not coming to terms with things as a project team. Now, if you have a good facilitator to do this, which quality tends to be good facilitators, to kind of go through what quality means to them in this little icebreaker and help them come up with a value statement that they can live by as a team now and in the future, you'll get everybody speaking the same language. So one of the things you should be doing right now is writing down to yourself what it means to you, and then maybe bring that back to your team and see what it means to them and see if you are all aligned. And if you're not aligned, get yourselves on the same page. Work through an exercise where you talk through what it means to you and what it can mean to all of you as a team. So let's look at the term culture a little bit more. So I'm going to go through about 3 slides, and they're all going to look very similar. One of the things I say is, well, if you take a look at what I'm going to show you over the next 3 slides, which you can Google, I Google them, Google culture wheels, see what comes up. They're all going to basically say the same things. So if you drill down to really what culture is at the end of the day, it's the things you see here on the screen, right? It is beliefs, language, customs, behaviors, and it can be many more other things than that, right? But it's around how we behave as a society within that culture. And that can translate back to your organization on, well, how do we behave as an organization? How do we speak the same language as an organization where we have a shared understanding when we speak to each other, right? Or like having shared values. Most companies tend to have some type of value mission or value statement. Make sure you're all believing that and that you all align with those values. If one of the things I like to say is if you are, let's say you're interviewing and you're looking at a new company, you want to look at their value statement first, and you want to see if your values align with theirs, because if they don't, it's not likely you'll succeed at that job. So one of the things I say is make sure values align, right? And that can be whether you're already working there, whether you're looking at a new job, but the value statements should match within your own personal values. And if you now want to bring in the term quality into this, how can we shape the culture of quality using these same types of behaviors, customs, beliefs? How can we incorporate quality concepts or ways of thinking into our everyday activities and our interactions with each other within the organization? So I'll show you two others here, another culture wheel. But if you look at it, same basic things, right? Some maybe are different, right? Community, the values, maybe some skills, some tools. But at the end of the day, it really is the same core items at its core of what culture really should mean. And building quality concepts into that is going to be really important to really build that culture from the bottom up with a commitment from the top down. So let's take a look a little bit about two different types of companies out there. There's ones that have mutual trust, and then there's control-oriented companies. One of the things I like to look at when I talk about building a culture of quality is trust being a key point in maintaining and building a culture of quality. If you have an organization that doesn't have a lot of trust between their leaders, between management and their teams, or across the board in any way, right? If there's no trust, it's really hard to create a culture of quality. It's almost going to be impossible. It's a key component that I stress to organizations when I teach a culture of quality is we need to trust each other. We need to be open and honest. There has to be direct pathways of communication. And then there has to be trust, even though we might have differences. And then if you look at the control-oriented side of things, those are companies that tend to work more in that hierarchical structure where the employees can't do anything without getting, approval from the top. They can't even make minor changes without communicating everything and gaining approval. They're micromanaged. Their roles and responsibilities maybe are not matching up with their actual key functions. And there's no trust because there's fear of retaliation should they make a mistake. So that's the difference between the two, trust-based and control-oriented. And you'll see as the workforce is moving into the future, more and more companies are moving towards trust-based workspaces, towards passion-based work and purpose-based work. You'll see less and less of those control-oriented companies remaining within the life science industry. It's all around, what are you passionate about? How does your values connect with the purpose of what we're doing here? And then even the workforce themselves are looking for work that matches their passion and their purpose. And a lot of people won't go to companies if they don't match their purpose. So you'll see that happening more and more as companies start moving into passion-based work. And one thing I like to mention, though, is that it all starts with you. We're all built upon personal passions, personal purposes, a personal why we do what we do. You have to remember at the core what your why is and find a company that aligns with that. And that's how you will be able to really pave the way for a culture of quality in everything that you do in any organization that you join. So if you go into a company and everyone's extremely passionate and everyone really understands the why, that's a high sign of a mature culture of quality. How do we keep the momentum? So we're in an organization, maybe they have a good culture of quality already. How do we maintain that? And then how can we maybe grow in those areas, right? Continuous improvement. As we know, as quality professionals, continuous improvement is key. How can we keep that going? We're going to look a little bit about understanding influence versus power, leading with empathy and gaining influence, coming with the facts, and then creating your own circle or your tribe. We're going to talk a little bit about those four things because those are going to be the four kind of tools to help you maintain a culture of quality if you're already in an organization that has a pretty good one. Okay, so we're going to start with gaining influence. That is going to be huge. I think, if you look back maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago, power was key. Now it's influence. You don't have to be a key leader to have influence within an organization and to be able to shift ideas and impact and buy-in within an organization. So one of the things I tell everybody to look at is when you're trying to gain influence, we do this every day and we don't really realize it, I think. especially as we're working in work streams, working in collaborative environments. One thing I want everyone to think about is, has anyone ever heard or done a formal stakeholder analysis in this group today? Think about that for a minute. Have you ever done a formal stakeholder analysis? That's something that I hear a lot of folks go, no, I've never done that before. No, I don't really know what that means. But actually, if you think about that for a minute, it's one of the key things to help you gain influence within an organization. And we all do it every day and don't even realize that we're doing it. So one of the things I like to say is most people see gaining influence as goal setting, right? Bringing concerns to the table, having ideas. How do we create impact? And they see it as like a formalized process. But in reality, it does not have to be, and it really is quite simple. So it can be something as little as going to your boss and bringing up new ideas that you have that you're super passionate about and how those might fit in to the longer objectives. Or maybe when you're talking to a peer about maybe aligning duties or maybe needing some support. Maybe when we're talking to another department and we want to understand, well, what concerns are you having today? Like, are you having a rough time today? I see you're a little down in the dumps. How can I help you? Just those simple little things are actually ways to gain influence because you're getting to know people. And I think that's the biggest piece that we miss here with a culture of quality. It's about building relationships. That's how you gain influence. And we do it a lot and don't even realize, just by coffee chat, right? If you're taking a break and you're standing around the water jug, for example, right? Just those little discussions can help you gain influence by building your credibility, building trust. And then finding out about another person. What are their views and their thoughts on a particular issue? Just asking them how they feel builds your influence in an organization. So it can be that simple. And if you kind of go through some of the questions that I put on the slide with different folks in your organization, by the time you get to number 4, how does this impact your area? This person is going to think so highly of you for being so, I guess, intrigued and so thoughtful on how these changes or these things that you want to do might be impacting them, that they're going to be pretty much on board with you by the end of the day because you're really taking them into consideration. So you can gain influence without forcing power or control upon others just by these simple 4 things on the screen. Next is leading with empathy. So we all express empathy a bit differently, right? We're human. We're more than what we see come to work every day. And I think we forget about that a little bit because once we get to work, we're in work mode. We have our work eyes on, our work ears on, that we forget that we're people and that we might have left some baggage at home. We might have left some things at home. But one of the things I like to mention is take a holistic approach to leading with empathy with your team. If you can lead with empathy, that'll be your superpower in building and leading any team or any initiative, even if it's not a team. Maybe you're a project manager leading a whole project. Lead with empathy. That is, I think, the biggest superpower you could possibly have when trying to build a culture of quality and trying to bring everyone together, right? We want everyone to be able to speak the same language, think the same, feel the same, understand, everything that we're talking about the same. So I found it really useful personally to have a cross-functional team building exercise to gain a shared vision and then gain a shared language of how we're going to work together, which then develops into that quality culture. It also will set the tone for your future workings together, and it's going to create some human connection there and the camaraderie, which is really a big piece of really building and leading teams and initiatives. It's the camaraderie, right? If you take a look at the last couple of years, we talk a lot about emotional intelligence. Well, that's where this comes in. Take a little bit of learning around emotional intelligence to kind of help you build a culture of quality and focus on the human connection, the people behind the camera, right? Like, I explained who I was in the beginning and I said some of the things that I'm passionate about and that I like, but I'm a lot more than what you see here on the screen, right? Take that into consideration when you're meeting new people, when you're talking to new people in different departments, when you're bringing new teams on board. At the end of the day, we're human. We crave connection in some form, even in the workplace. And as leaders, that's something that we need to learn from and that we need to incorporate, whether it's with our peers, our bosses, or our teams. And one of the easy ways to do that is it's never too late to be a little silly at work, right? I think that it's important to have some fun at work, or work is no fun. And that's a way to relieve daily stresses, enjoy a joke or two, share some silly stories of what happened to you over the weekend. Those are all very simple ways to just build that human connection and show that we're all people outside of this workplace. So some of the other things, that you can take away from this as well, think about how else can you lead with empathy besides being a little silly, besides making work a fun place, besides sharing funny stories of things that happened to you over the weekend or in the past. What other things can you do to build the human connection? And then the next one, bring the facts, right? What can we do to build our credibility in an organization? This part's all about credibility. So quality tends to be based around factual-based compliance, aligned with employee understanding of like a mission or a vision and the values within the company, right? So we want to enable continuous quality improvement, which will enable a quality culture. So to do that, let's say you're bringing new ideas, new initiatives, more continuous improvement activities to build that culture of quality, come with the facts. That's really important, especially if you're going to upper management. Have facts to back up what we do, why we do it, and why we do it this way. That's going to be super helpful for you to gain buy-in and gain that influence across the organization and continue to build trust. You want to build your credibility. That is really going to be key if you want to be a trendsetter in your organization, or if you want to try something new, or maybe something outside of the box, right? Out of the box thinking is going to help innovate when it comes to a culture of quality and help bring things to life a little faster, but bring evidence as to why your innovation may be useful. And then my favorite one is more around building your circle or building your tribe, right? Some people call it their tribe, your circle, your network, whatever you want to call it or whatever resonates with you. These are the things that I think that you need to really be able to create your own culture of quality and to create your own brand, which goes back to building a culture of quality, right? These people that you see here on the screen will believe in you. They'll share your values, share your mindset. You'll have mutual trust with each other and respect. And with this little circle of individuals, you can be direct, you can be open, and there should be very little fear of retaliation. It should be one nice cohesive circle of psychological safety. And I think that every professional, whether you're starting out, whether you're 30 years into your career, if you don't have a circle, it's never too late to build one. And it's a really great circle to have. And I can say I've done this myself. I have each one of these and maybe a couple of each one of these within my own personal circle. And I feel like without them, I wouldn't have been able to do the things that I've done and to be able to push the limits the way that I have. So let's start off with a friend. Why does everyone need a friend? So a friend is great for some real advice, right? The person you go to be like, am I crazy? Can you sanity check me, right? That's what a friend is for. They're great for support. Oh man, I made a big mistake today at work. I feel really down in the dumps about it. How can I fix it? What do you think? And that friend will be there to support you when you did make those mistakes and help confide in and help build you back up. That's what a friend is for. Then you have a coach. Now, a coach is a little different. A coach is someone who's going to pep talk to you, right? They're going to give you advice about how to do things and how to get results. The coach is the how-to. Okay, you want to be here in 5 years? These are the things you need to do to get there. And let's pep you up and get you moving through each one of those things to get you to where you want to be in 5 years. They're going to be the person that focuses on your results. Then you have a mentor. A lot of people tell me, what's the difference between a coach and a mentor? Well, I'm going to tell you right now what I feel the difference is between a coach and a mentor. So a mentor is somebody who's going to talk with you. And they're going to talk more about your hopes and your dreams rather than like, these are the concrete things you need to do to get somewhere. They're going to be more focused on beliefs and values and dream driven. They're going to be more blue sky. That's what a mentor is really going to be there for. Someone to guide you not necessarily tell you these are the exact things you need to do, but they're going to guide you. They're going to help you achieve those hopes and dreams and help you build new ones. Then you have a sponsor. So a sponsor is somebody usually within your organization or within your industry, someone that has great influence within that industry. And they're going to be your support system or your backing that has influence, that will talk about you. Your sponsor is the person that when they're in a room and you're not there, they will talk highly of you. They will mention you. Oh, you need to go to this person for that. They're great at it. Oh, you need to go to this person for this. They're going to be amazing at this. This is the person you want on that job. That's the sponsor. And everybody needs one of those, someone to support you with influence, whether it's in your organization or in the industry. And then the last is a trusted colleague. So a trusted colleague is almost like a friend, except they're your friend at work, not outside of work. They can sanity check you the same way a friend would. But the difference in this trusted colleague is that they share your company values and your company goals. So they'll be able to sanity check you in alignment to those core corporate missions. So a trusted colleague is like your best friend at work, right? And that's somebody I think that we all need to kind of help us get through the rough points and the high points within a company. And if anyone ever needs help building their circle, this is one of my favorite things to talk about and to work on. I'm always happy to work on it with you outside of this webinar. And then as we wind down towards the end of this, this is my motto that I kind of have lived by for at least the last 15 years or so from the first time I heard it. A former mentor of mine, she's retired now, but she was my mentor for a long time, and she was a great leader. She told me this, and it stuck with me my entire career. So I share it wherever I go. It really resonates when it comes to building a culture of quality, having continuous improvement initiatives. But at the end of the day, quality sets the foundation of a quality culture. And I believe that for an organization to be successful, quality must be owned by the whole organization and embedded in its culture. I believe we can all make a true impact in what we do if we can go back and remembering our why, remembering our purpose and our passion. Why did we choose the job that we're in? Why did we choose this field? And what is our purpose for doing what we do in our day-to-day that will drive you when in doubt, right? At the end of the day, quality culture is a mindset shift, right? It's shifting our minds to proactive thinking and positive thinking. And how can we do that? And it's all going back to why. Why are we here? So some key takeaways is hopefully you understood and took away the 3 pillars to assess maturity within your organization, the 4-step approach to building a quality culture, and then some daily practices that you can take back to your teams and your organization to start really chipping away at this, and again, remembering this takes time. It will not be done within 3 months, 6 months. Culture takes a long time to set, but it all starts with you. And I have faith that we can all make an impact in our daily jobs wherever we're at if we all can just shift our minds to a positive way of thinking and a proactive mindset. So I thank everyone for listening. And I appreciate you for talking through this with me. And this is my contact information if anybody needs it. But hopefully you take this back and you start making an impact. Thank you.